What's up? It's the Headspace. Sigqibele kudala uhlala le way. Conversations.
It's been a minute.
Because we've been doing
Except we were busy with our Elements of Hip Hop series. We really hope you all appreciated that, because that hip hop is way more larger than just rap, and that it's a culture that comprises elements that bring it together in power. And these elements, so we had to do that short left for a minute just to remind you this is about hip hop, but the Kaiser. It's been an interesting couple of months.
Yeah. Is it a month?
It's about a month. It's been a month. Something. And Yazi, I want to get down to the bottom of it. Oh, Viche, brother from the ancient mother. I want to get down to the bottom of the fact that is a beef battling of Biltong. Like, I fully understand about Kubekani.
Yeah.
What's in the air, because out of nowhere, every Tom, Dick, and Bug Zulu is now releasing a diss track. So I felt like it's only natural for people who talk about the culture to talk about this very sensational part that happens around the culture, which is diss tracks, dissing.
And maybe our listeners, our subscribers could also chip in and tell us why is it when someone just releases a diss track, it opens doors. All of a sudden, you
understand?
Yeah,
it's interesting.
It's diss track season or what, beef season or whatever you call it, or Biltong.
It's beef. We'll see what it is.
Okay.
We'll tell the texture of the meat once we start to get a good taste of it.
Yeah.
Because to be honest, some of it is really just Biltong. But I want you know me. I want to start things off from a historical context.
Yeah.
Hip hop is a culture that comprises these elements born out of the need for oppressed people to empower themselves using skill, art, and poetry and movement. Now there's been a word, and this word I call Japa. It's resurfaced with these kind of diss tracks that have resurfaced up in Mzansi. The idea that beefing is an element of hip hop. And I'm like, nah, it's not. It's not at all. Folks, in the finance understanding about hip hop is that
I'm okay, there's one losing elements in Okay, anyway, yeah, carry on.
But when we go into the roots of it all, we're not gonna pretend like hip hop is some kind of romantic kumbaya movement where everything was peace and harmony. Obviously, where there's people, there's conflict and there's competition. Where there's 3 or more people in a room, there's bound to be some level of competition. It's healthy because competition is a way we grow. If Dakeza has a way of saying things that gets to points quicker than I am, I start off by being envious of that. But if I'm really constructive, it evolves to me learning and respecting that skill and saying, yo, this is effective and I want to learn from it. So I want us to understand that competition is not a negative thing. People tend to think competition, they think people slashing each other for some kind of ultimate crown. But really competition is a biological element that allows for things to grow, because we only grow when we see what around us is developing in ways that we feel we need to go, because Nati, we want to survive. So whether we're talking about surviving in the wilderness or surviving in the capitalist jungle, competition is a healthy part of life. You don't have to look at
the best in us.
I understand. You don't have to look at the people you're competing with as people you have deep-seated issues with. They are simply people who you can learn by growing from and knowing how to kind of one-up. It's the way that almost every element of nature operates. So no different from a hip-hop. So as much as MCs would rap together, naturally there came that competitive element of people wanting to outdo each other. Okay, he's got that nice little introduction. I need to write a better introduction.
Yeah.
Oh, he's got some nice stage presence. I need to learn from
them. Yeah.
Oh, he's got nice little call and responses for the crowd. I need to get a better call and response. Oh, he's got a nice little movement when he's going into the stage. I need to learn from that. It's from this competitive element that hip hop and particularly rap music grew to where it was.
Yeah.
And one of the most monumental moments had to be when Kool Moe Dee and Chief Rocker Busy B went straight at it. Event.
It wasn't even planned.
It wasn't even planned.
Yeah.
It was a matter of one rapper seeing the opportunity.
Yeah.
Seeing the opportunity to challenge somebody who was being seen as an opponent, a challenger. And you know, Kool Moe Dee being a lyricist, being somebody who held himself as one of the most incredible MCs of the time, couldn't be outdone by Chief Rocker Busy B, who was really good at hyping the crowd.
Yeah.
And so in that particular kind of battle, and I want to use that word because I feel like
not beef.
In this episode, I want us to kind of clarify the difference between a battle and a beef. What was born from hip hop is battling. Breakers battle.
Yeah.
Graph writers battle.
DJs battle.
And of course, MCs
battle.
So this competitive element is in every way in life, including hip hop. So it was only natural that you'd find some of the most famous and respected MCs going at it without any personal issues with each other. But just having to understand that, if I'm going to be the best, I'm going to have to go through the best.
Yeah.
And that's a sign of respect. It doesn't mean you want to destroy somebody. It just means you want to keep the game interesting by being able to challenge whatever you think or they think they have over you. You know what I mean? So I feel like the monumental battle between Chief Rocker Busy B and Kool Moe Dee set a tone for what rap music would be, because a lot of MCs like the great KRS One Blastmaster attribute that moment to being the birth of hip hop lyricism, because Kool Moe Dee was one of the first prototypes for rappers who were more inclined to focusing on their wordplay, whereas Chief Rocker Busy B was a master of the stage, a master of the ceremony. So we in that moment, not only do we find kind of the first real monumental hip hop battle, we find the first real monumental transition of MCing going more into a literary direction. Kool Moe Dee's victory, and you can find both of these tracks that are available because they were recorded, and when audiences compared it, Kool Moe Dee's diss had way more cuts and insults which kind of hit at the character of Chief Rocker Busy. So I think in that battle we see all battles that have happened, whether it's Common and Ice Cube, whether it's Drake and Pusha T, Jay-Z and Nas. They are MCs who have absolutely no issues with each other, but see each other as opportunities of climbing this dominant ladder of being the ultimate GOAT MC. And in hip hop, that's welcome. In hip hop, that's actually part of growing the culture. It has no animosity. You don't hate the other person. Matter of fact, you actually admire them. You admire them enough to challenge them. But also, I think there's something I need to mention before that you don't just challenge a master when you're still a rookie.
You need to earn your stripes.
You need to earn your stripes.
Yeah.
Brothers, sisters, all in between. You need to learn that in hip hop, and I guess in everything else in life, you need to be able to make, in fact, influence and convince people that you alone have a unique quality that sets you apart from everything else that's happening. And once you're able to do that, grow with that, understand where it can take you and where it can build the culture around you. And then when you've built yourself to a point where you have a reputation, then
then you can.
It will only be natural for you to go after the bigger guns, because when you don't have a reputation, it's only a publicity stunt.
Talking about publicity stunts, I would probably mention the game. You know, because the game has always been questionable. Is whether it's his songwriting, lyrical skill, or whatever it is, because he always needed. If you check his resume,
let's go into the history of the game.
Yeah, history of the game. He always needed people in his team around him to teach him certain aspect of the game. You know, particularly with Dr. Dre and 50 Cent.
Exactly.
So now when he emeyedwa, ziyeza qala zabonakala into ba this bra okay kubi ngawo. And now for him to ufuna ubamba esa spotlight ebekuso wathatha into bana makathini, let me throw punches at these people. The bigger people, let me diss.
Exactly.
So which is now with the publicity stunt, which is what happened on this 32 tracks or what?
God, I don't even really care.
Yeah.
The thing about the game is that we all kind of respect him for that one album.
Yeah.
We all know what that album is, the documentary. But what we don't understand is that most of what we loved about that album was 50 Cent. 50 Cent literally gave the game songs. So as a result, again, if you haven't earned your respect as your own artist, it will never work to challenge an artist who has earned that respect. I think apart from the game, one thing we need to kind of properly classify is battling arises naturally because it's a healthy competitive spirit.
Yeah.
Beef, on the other hand, is something uniquely
it's
personal. Beef arises when individuals develop personal issues with one another outside of the art, the music, and the craft, and these issues and conflicts filter into the music.
Yes.
One of the most famous beefs in hip-hop history, in rap history, is probably Tupac and Biggie. Tupac thought Notorious B.I.G. staged and orchestrated his own attempted murder. It doesn't get any personal than that.
Yeah.
It's real. So what was going on there is bigger than Hit 'em Up, is bigger than Who Shot You.
Yeah.
This was something which escalated and eventually led to bloodshed and violence. And the reason it got there is because it really had nothing to do with the music. It was some personal life stuff that got very bloated and exaggerated itself into very tragic levels. Very, very tragic levels. And the media, like you're pointing out,
the media also played its part.
They took advantage of that by turning it into an East versus West. When it was really just most likely a misunderstanding between
probably.
two artists, most likely. We can't say, we don't have all the facts, but I do believe no matter how serious or egregious an issue is, there's always room for communication. And unfortunately it got there. And I think the reason we need to bring this up is a lot of people who caught wind of rap and as a result came into hip-hop through that beef feel like that's what hip-hop is about. You just look for trouble. You just kind of like if anybody is worthy of the poke, you shoot shots at them. And that's not the ethic and the mode of what hip-hop is built on. Beef and battling are different. Like I said, you don't hate a person you battle. Matter of fact, you respect a person. In order for any battle to happen, there has to be respect amongst the
because even with the traditional battling where your URLs, your key of the dots, you find that the MCs who battle each other, you find that there are stages there. There's bottom tier, and when you get there, when you get to a certain tier, you always your competition is to your end goal is to, let's say you want to battle, your ultimate goal is to beat, let's say, a loaded Lux. You're like, because why? you respect him, not because you hate him.
Yeah.
So even on the traditional battling without the songs, the diss tracks and all, but the battle scene also, it's about respect. You like, you know what? Yeah, put a Belisha, but no Belisha, no power guns. Yeah, power guns. Yeah.
I think I'll get massive reputation. And also, I can't go up against the power guns without earning my own reputation. Power guns is power guns because he's amassed years of going into the scene, challenging opponents from level to level, tier to tier to tier, developing into one of the most criminal and insanely talented battle rappers. So again, the mindsets are different. With battling, it's about respect. With beef, you don't like each other.
You don't like each other.
Like from the get-go. So let's talk about a little bit about Pusha T and Drake. A lot of people think Pusha T and Drake didn't like each other from the get-go. It's not like that.
Yeah.
Pusha T challenged Drake's lyricism. This began as a battle. This began from Drake, news around him having ghostwriters, and Pusha T and many other MCs in the game, including Meek Mill, wanting to now question Drake's character as a rapper. And famously, Pusha T releases a number of songs. He starts with Infrared, then he goes to the story of Adidon, and then eventually we find this scandal being leaked out about Drake's personal life through Pusha T's diss track. I think now we learn the rules of the battle.
Yeah.
If you are battling somebody and you respect them, one of the rules of battling is there is no reason to make it personal.
Yeah.
Once you make it personal, you are actually volunteering and willingly trying to get it into a beef.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Like, now you cross the line.
And
crossing the line.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Jay-Z and Nas began in the battle space. Jay-Z wanted Nas' space, but because of the content that was said on the songs and the things that were done outside of the music, people sleeping with other people's girlfriends, people doing things that are deeply offensive on a personal level, it became personal. It became a beef.
But when it started, it was only a competition.
Right.
Healthy competition, which is a battle.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, rappers, if you want to battle, there is no need for you to make it personal. In fact, making it personal is really a publicity stunt that really can get out of hand very easily and doesn't do anything for you. Yeah, yeah, or anything worse.
Anything worse.
So in that Kaka and Shakya let's talk about AKA and Casper. It began
also
no, this was beef from the beginning.
Was it beef?
It was beef because remember the famous club moment where AKA went up and there's different recurring versions of the story, but all versions of the story lead to Casper getting clapped. So that's a very personal
thing. That's personal. Yeah.
Once you slap a person,
it's not a battle anymore.
It's not a battle anymore because now there's a physical altercation. We don't have AKA in the room to ask him why he felt the need to slap Casper, but we do know that on wax, clearly these are artists that respected each other, and the respect came to a level where it became disrespect. And we know the story. The diss tracks were traded to and fro. But again, what I'm trying to emphasize is battling becomes beef when you cross the line of personal life and you try to go at somebody's personal life. It's one thing to try and assassinate somebody's artistic integrity and say they're not really as dope of a writer as they think they are. They're not
poke at that.
But it's one thing to try and go after their lovers or try poke this at their parents or their close friends.
That's personal.
Because then it's personal. You say something about my mama or my wife, then you've made it something personal.
Hence I say nothing to do with their parents and what.
You understand? And I feel like it's really important for us to zone in on this. Is it necessary for mothers and friends and brothers to be brought in to battling? Because people like this. the industry has made it sensational. Oh, you went for his the jugular. You spoke about his mother. You spoke about his sick friend. You spoke about this and that and that and that. I feel like this tarnishes hip hop and rap, and I really think that rappers who resort to this really are playing into something that also destroys their own careers. What are your views on that?
Yo, bruh.
Yeah, like Central.
No,
why you wanna go there?
You don't need to, especially in rap terms, like in rap or whatever. Whether you're but then again, it's only rappers who do that. So,
yeah, I don't know.
Because
of course, no, the
other elements.
The rap writers
you will never.
And the breakers have kept it clean, quote unquote, for the most part. It's really been about the skill.
It's only the skill.
Let's ask ourselves the question: why do rappers feel the need to go beyond the skill? Why does there have to be some kind of scandal around people's personal lives?
I think it goes back to cloud chasing. I think it goes back there because if you can assassinate my artistic value by poking at my artistry,
artistry, yeah.
So when you go to my personal life, I feel like it's cloud chasing, because now you're taking the vision abantu away from the skill only to my personal life and things that actually don't actually matter.
You know what?
The grand scheme of things.
You know what's a better word than cloud chasing? Biltong. That's what.
So it's Biltong.
That's when it becomes Biltong. That's why I want to get to this Biltong thing. It's battling when there's respect. It's beef when it's personal, and it got personal through incidences of a misunderstanding or offense, because we're people, and naturally people will step on each other's toes. But it only becomes Biltong if you are intentionally trying to step on somebody's toes because you think it's going to somehow help your career. Because now you're trying to dehumanize somebody. For what? Not because they legitimately deserve it, because they did something to you, but just because you're chasing after clout. And what that does is that it's real tasty and spicy, but it gets old very quick. Biltong, when Wicked and went for Mandoza, Magesh, and everybody else. It was Biltong.
It was Biltong, obviously.
You know?
Yeah.
So this tradition.
You know what? The Man. Yeah, the track is called The Man.
Exactly. Because he wanted.
He went for The Man.
Did it help his career?
No.
Exactly.
Didn't.
Do we have a history of anyone, Osami Biltong, who it actually works for? I doubt we do.
No.
Because what MCs don't understand about Biltong is that it's tasty now, but you have to eat it really quickly. You know? And so Biltong is not really conducive to establishing yourself on a foundation of respect. The game is resorting to Biltong.
Yeah.
You understand? AKA resorted to Biltong by slapping
Casper.
You know what I mean?
But
exactly. So let's get to these recent debacles that have been happening lately. Cape Town rapper EXO went for another Cape Town MC, Ndlulamthi, and that was one of the most sensational these feuds that have happened this year.
I call it Kwabitanga.
Kwabitanga. EXO went for the jugular because EXO not only tried to assassinate Ndlulamthi's artistic integrity, he started saying some outrageous shit about Ndlulamthi as a person.
Yeah.
You know, the fact that we know Ndlulamthi for being a man of integrity and for being politically active, and Gandhi is chasing skirts. So by doing something like that, the trends they move up, the likes and everything like that, and I feel like
everybody start checking who's this EXO guy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like an MC of Ndlulamthi's caliber shouldn't have played into Le Biltong Ukalangu EXO, because these are two rappers who are equally good at what they do. EXO is more of a street MC, an MC who's really about that aggression and really a challenger by nature. Ndlulamthi is more of the socially conscious, reflective MC who we go for understanding more about ourselves and our world. And I think That's one of the rules. The art of war says, number one, don't play into your enemy's strengths.
Yeah.
And this is something that applies even in the hip-hop scope. As a rapper, as a graph writer, as a breaker, don't play into the strengths of the person you're competing with. Understand your own strengths. Ndlulamthi failed to understand this. He played into it. He gave us a very fuzzy voice note that had very illegible comebacks, which still weren't getting to the core, because Biltong, once you've said a whole bunch of scandals about a person's personal life, the audience wants more Biltong.
More Biltong. So when
because if Biltong
because he approached it into a battle.
Yeah, a battle.
The people didn't want a battle. They wanted to know more about
They wanted Biltong.
Yeah,
they wanted Ndlulamthi
to say
so that this thing can continue. But Ndlulamthi, being an MC of his kind of style, didn't do that. He brought it back to the skill.
Yeah.
He wanted to say, listen, Exo, you don't have the skill you claim to have. But it didn't work.
Yeah.
And this is the thing we need to understand. It might not work now, but there's something we need to understand. In battling, an MC might win the battle, but there's still what we call, and I think I didn't plan for this, not only is there battling, not only is there beef, not only is there Biltong, but generally there's war. And a person might win the battle, but they might not win the war. What is the difference? The battle is a moment.
Yeah.
The battle happens at this particular time. The
war,
war
is
the,
over time, the longevity,
the general trajectory of how both artists grow.
Yeah.
For instance, we might famously say Nas could have won the battle, go Ether. But if we look at both artists and how they've grown, Jay-Z
won the war.
The war has become the more successful, the more respected, and the all-round more developed and matured MC. So that's another thing you all need to think about, that you might lose the battle. And that's not really a loss, it's a lesson. So again, we need to get this attitude out of our heads that losing a battle is the end of your art or your career. It's a lesson. Get back from it, develop yourself and grow. Because if you learn the lesson from losing the battle, there's a strong possibility that overall in a couple of years, people look at you as the more worthy artist, challenger, opponent, whatever you want to term yourself. And these are the rules, not only in warfare, in life, but more particularly, as we small in hip hop. So if we're looking at the beef, the battles turned beef between AKA and Casper, you gotta ask yourself the question, who won the war? If we're looking at the battle / beef between anybody, what matters is not what happens in that immediate moment, the biltong that people can chew quickly and swallow. It's how both artists walk away, how the person that might have won the biltong walks away, and the person that might have lost in the midst of the biltong. Yeah. So yeah, Ndlulamthi definitely lost to Exo in this biltong of a matchup.
Because nobody even, I don't even know the name of the second respondent, because he responded again. He did. Because he knew that he lost.
Exactly.
And he then felt the need to another.
And that's why Biltong is so irresistible. It's an easy way of getting an easy victory.
Yeah.
Because the moment you go after somebody's personal life, you amass scandal, but it doesn't last and it truly doesn't build your career the way you think it will. It didn't help Game, it hasn't helped any MC. And as the headspace, we really want to remind all artists of that going for these cheap tactics that are temporarily sensational is only ever good for the media.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything.
At that time.
It doesn't do anything for the artist.
15 minutes.
15 minutes of fame.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything for the artist, and it damn sure doesn't do anything for the culture. So I hope you as the audience have understood this little masterclass between Takeza and I.
Well, I want you to, before we go, touch on the one Bug Zulu.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Oh
just a lesson on that one, because we talked off camera about it.
It's deep.
Yeah.
You know,
because people are saying no, hip hop didn't need it, or some say are questioning his lyrical skill, which we know is not that lyrically gifted.
He's not that lyrically gifted. Okay, look, here's the thing about Big Zulu. There are different types of rappers. Again, know your strength.
Yeah.
Know your strength. Graph artists, breakers, rappers, DJs. Know your strength. Big Zulu's strength is he's not a rapper's rapper. He's not a rapper for the heads. He's the rapper that general everyday people appreciate because his style is simplistic enough, catchy enough, and he's able to create songs that are melodic enough for the everyday person who doesn't listen to hip-hop or rap to gravitate to. So you can't beat Big Zulu in that sport unless you're trying to. So the thing is, 150 bars works for Big Zulu because he's already gotten the fame from Imali Ningi and a couple of other other hits.
Singles,
Remember, Big Zulu's been in the game for a minute, so it took him a while to figure out where his space and where his strength is. He tried to be a battle rapper. He tried to be all these things that he wasn't, and he's understood that hits. And he's good at that. He's good at knocking those sing-along South African melodies that tap into the imagination of the demographic too. He did this because he wants to awaken the rap game. He's a fan, and I feel like that's what we need to love Big Zulu for this moment, because Big Zulu might have fans who don't really like rap like that, but he loves rap. And because he felt rap was dying at the expense of the piano, he engineers a moment like this because he feels the significance for rap to rise up again. So rap rising again, the easiest way to do it is to create and instigate a battle. So he challenges a whole bunch of MCs that, to be honest, he probably knows he's not lyrically better than. But Big Zulu, being a rapper and a lover of the culture, invites people into a conversation which benefits hip-hop. So I feel like if we see this for what it isn't somebody trying to be opportunistic. It's somebody really trying to build the economy of what they do. Big Zulu's a rapper, so he wants rap music to make more money. And he's seeing good piano, and now he's rising rap from the ashes by challenging all of the other talented rappers that he knows are talented. I think honestly, Big Zulu knows KO, Tumi, and MT are rappers who do things on a level that he could never do. But he's doing this really as a friend and as a companion and as a colleague and as a fellow artist, saying Majida Masfu. And if you are going to judge Big Zulu from a lyricist lens, you really don't understand what's going on here. Big Zulu is a pop artist who is helping rap and hip-hop by creating attention around it. Kendrick did this with Control. The only difference between Kendrick and Big Zulu, Kendrick is actually a lyricist. Big Zulu is more of a pop rapper. But my view of this, Big Zulu did something for hip-hop and for the game that is necessary by battling his fellow artists, because he knows people people around us are excited by challenging competition.
What do I get? I hear you. I hear you about Big Zulu. But what do you call that one? That's a battle.
What do I call that one? That's battle.
That's a battle.
Big Zulu didn't say anything that is deeply offensive. I mean, MT knows he has a tattoo of a Mercedes.
Because I hear he's the only one who's hurt by it.
Is he truly hurt? If he's hurt by that line, then maybe he values the garage yake more than he should. Because really what Big Zulu is doing in that move is that he's poking innocent fun. I say, and what's the difference between innocent fun and something really integral? Somebody can make fun of the way you dress. Somebody can make fun at, your financial state. Come on, man.
And it's not that.
We're grown enough not to let those things go to us. What really gets under a person's skin is if you go for loved ones. When you go for somebody's loved ones, it isn't innocent anymore. Big Zulu didn't go for anybody's wife, for anybody's children. for anybody is anybody. The only thing
He just poked fun, yeah.
He poked fun at MCs, whether poking fun at the
So that was a battle.
Yeah, and the reason that he made that line is because he knew that MT is an MC that raps mostly about money.
Money.
So how do you challenge an MC that raps about money? You say you don't have as much money as you say you do.
Yeah.
So it's as simple as that, you know. So really, that's a battle. It's healthy. He's challenging.
So Big Zulu, in essence, you could say we gatekeeper. Yeah.
He's
become a gatekeeper for the fans who are necessarily not hip hop heads,
but pop
culture. But in hearing or in Bamamele track Big Zulu, Big Zulu was trying to invite them more into the culture.
Yeah. And I think if there's anything we need to do, must call it Big Zulu Zandla. It's a victory for hip hop. It's a victory for rap. And if we see this the wrong way, especially as heads, Telanan, know how to judge an MC. Big Zulu's never claimed to be a lyricist. Big Zulu claims to be one of the most formidable hit makers of this country. So if you want to judge Big Zulu, judge him on that.
Hits.
Judge him on the hits. You know what I mean? So this has been the lesson. Battling comes out of respect and challenging and competition. Beef is the personal conflicts that arise and make themselves into the music. Biltong is when artists willingly go into making things personal when they weren't, just for cheap publicity. And so understanding the difference between these three allows us to see who wins the war at the end of the day. It's always about the culture. So if South African hip hop is going to grow, we're going to understand who are we fighting against, what are we fighting against. And if you ask me, I don't think our enemy is Big Zulu. I don't think it's Casper. I don't think it's AKA. I think it's ourselves.
It's ourselves. It's not even piano.
You know why I think it's ourselves? Because we still have a mindset about hip hop, a colonial. Our next episode, see decolonize hip hop because you still have ideas that are really rooted in Western thinking. That's why you'll say Big Zulu is whack, because Big Zulu akafundanga a private school and he doesn't know what a double entendre is. And that's your problem. Your problem is not Big Zulu. Your problem
that's
is
our
that
next episode.
You
Check it
still
out.
haven't decolonized yourself. Shout out to SA Hip Hop forever. We love the battles. We might tolerate the beefs, but we really get annoyed by the Biltong. It's been love and peace. VJ, the brother from the
guys, get it us in the comment section. But I'm sure we are Steady Gaga. Peace.
SA Hip Hop, let's win the war.